This will be part 3 of our new teaching that we're doing on what does it mean to be saved, and I'm going to read in chapter 4 of Romans this morning, starting at verse 1. It says, "What shall we say then that Abraham our father as pertaining to the flesh has found? For if Abraham were justified by works, he has whereof to glory, but not before Yahuwah. For what says the Scripture? Abraham believed Yahuwah, and it was accounted to him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of favor, but of debt. But to him that works not, but believes on him that justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. Even as David," this is talking about King David, "also describes the blessedness of the man unto whom Yahuwah imputes righteousness without works, saying, Blessed are those whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom Yahuwah will not impute sin." Wow. "Saying, Blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom Yahuwah will not impute sin." Does this blessedness come upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned or counted to Abraham for righteousness. How was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Excuse me. Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness which is by faith, which he had yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe, though they be not circumcised, that the righteousness might be imputed to them also. Wow. Now see, I'm going to explain what these verses mean, because the way it's written here it's a little bit hard to understand. But one of the things that I want to point out to you is, and let me just mention this as well, Abraham is referred to as the father of us all, or the father of many nations. Actually, that's what his name means. He's the father of many nations. Now, what that means is that, see, salvation started off being for the Jew, for the Yahudim, for the children of Yasharel. It was made because Yahuwah was able to make a covenant with Abraham, and you understand that Abraham is the first what we call Jew, but he was actually originally a Gentile, meaning that he became the first Jew, or the Yahudim, when he covenanted with Yahuwah. And actually, Yahuwah, as he entered into covenant, it's similar to like a marriage. It's similar because Yahuwah gave him his name, starting with Abraham. He gave, actually he gave him a part of his name when he changed his name to Abraham. He added one of the letters of Yahuwah's name, the letter Ha, which some people refer to in modern Hebrew as the letter He, he married himself unto the nation of the Yahudim, of Yasharel. But Abraham was the first, what we would say, Jew, or the first Yahudim, or first Yehudi. And he made a covenant with him. And salvation was first and foremost for the Jew. But Yahuwah had the intention that salvation would be made available to all the nations of the earth, and they would be justified by faith. And Abraham would be our example, that he was justified before Yahuwah, not by keeping the works of the Torah, but by but just what we just read here, that Abraham believed. Verse 3 of chapter 4 of Romans says, Abraham believed Yahuwah, and that was counted to him for righteousness. And that his works did not account to that as righteousness, but by his faith. And then verse 6 says, Well, let me go back to verse 5. It says, "But to him that works not, but believes on him that justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness." Now, when you start teaching along these lines, people get real upset and they start saying, "Are you saying that we can just live any way we want to live and that we don't have to keep the commandments?" I'm not saying any of those things. And don't misinterpret or don't try to twist anything that I'm saying. Listen to me real closely. Listen to all the teachings, and then be, with an open heart to what the Scripture has to say. Not believe it because I'm saying it. Do the research yourself. Read the Scriptures. It's all there. I'm not reading something that's not in the Scripture. This is what's in the Word right here. That you and I are justified not by the works of the Torah, but by our faith in Yahushua HaMashiach. David even said in verse 6, that even as David described the blessedness unto whom Yahuwah imputes righteousness without works, saying, "Blessed are those whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered." This is good news when you understand what the gospel is all about. That you and I can be declared righteous before our Father, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy, he saved us. Yahushua himself said, "I'll have mercy and not sacrifice." And he said, if you would go and learn what I mean by that. See, he wants us to understand that when you try to approach Yahuwah in your own self-works and efforts, you're going to fall way short. Believe me. I know that I want to stand before my Father not in my own works of righteousness, but I want to stand in the Mashiach's righteousness because he is now my righteousness. I stand justified before him, not based upon my righteousness, but upon the Mashiach's righteousness. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll pick back up on our next session. Again, please share this with others. And my desire is that you grow in the knowledge of Yahushua HaMashiach. And I'm encouraged and thankful that Yahuwah is using me to be able to minister his word. And the Scripture says, "Study to show yourself approved unto Yahuwah." And so I encourage you to study the Scriptures yourself and prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. May Yahuwah's blessings be upon you today. Shalom.